Hey you guys, Matt Allen here. Welcome back to Tactical Bassin and welcome to a bonus Saturday video. Today is a tactical family video, which means you're going fishing with one of Tim and I's closest friends that we trust to teach you about bass fishing. You're headed to Southern California with Adam Hinkle. He is an old school swim bait fisherman, and that's exactly what he's doing today. You're gonna see him slinging the big bait, sticking some good ones. He'll even pull out some custom things. He's gonna get it done. Go check it out.
What's up, guys? Adam Hinkle back here from hot, sunny Southern California. We've been in the, well, it's the middle of August. We've been in the high 80s to mid 90s for the last couple weeks. And we're gonna be filming a video for you guys tomorrow up at a small, higher elevation lake. And as most of you know who watched my first video, I kind of explained that all of our lakes are water storage reservoirs, and they're open 2, 3, 4 days a week, some of them, sunrise to sunset. But this lake typically gets us on the lake earlier than normal. They let us go pretty much in the dark, and it's going to be hard for me to film an intro there in the dark and talk about what my expectations are, because that's what I like to do with you guys. I like to be completely honest, talk about what I expect the lake to look like, what I expect the fish to be doing, and how I expect to catch them, then go fishing, catch them, explain it as I go, and at the end do a little recap on what my expectations were and what actually happened. So like I said, it's a higher elevation lake, not real dirty water, not real clear water. You're talking 2 to 6 foot visibility typically there. Isolated rock piles on the outsides. You don't have a lot of like long sloping points. There's not a ton of structure there. Like actually a few of our lakes, they're all silted in for the most part. And when the water drops, that's another thing. This lake is pretty low. So when the water drops, a lot of that structure, or a lot of that cover and structure is gone. You're only left with a limited amount until you get to that silt level. So lake's low, isolated rock piles, not a ton of grass, but the grass that we do find, we will be taking advantage of it. We'll be focusing on that because, like I said, the water temps I expect to be right around 80 degrees. And with that water temperature, you're gonna have lack of oxygen. And the fish will be taking advantage of that grass because of the oxygen content. So I've got a buzzbait tied on, wake bait, frog, glide bait, and just in case the wind doesn't get up to extend that topwater bite a little bit, I've got a Carolina rig and a free rig tied on. And I've got everything else in the boat that we need if I got to call some audibles, if that stuff's not working out, and we'll get on them. Hopefully at this lake, you could run into an 8-9 pounder on any cast. It's a pretty good average. You know, we're probably gonna catch quite a few 2 to 4 pounders, but you could run into a big one at any point in the day. It's got big ones in it. So hopefully we can sling the big bait around and maybe the frog and buzzbait and hang into a big one, get a good one on video for you guys, and we'll go catch them. We'll talk about it. See you out there. So I started on a fairly rocky bank, kind of like, they're not isolated boulders, but there's like little sections of rock here, not real steep, and got bit pretty close to the boat. Didn't have the net out, of course, and I dumped one probably about 3 pounds right at the boat, and not too far down the bank. Good one. On the wake bait. As you can see, really foggy. Taking advantage of, again, that low light period that we got this morning. Like I said in the intro, we got on the water pretty early this morning, and they're eating the top water. Wake bait. All right, I think that's, she's angry. I think that's like 6 bites on the wake bait so far. They're not like, get her in the net, she calms down a little bit. They're not like smoking the thing by any means. They're kind of nipping at it. She's actually hooked on the bottom jaw, just like barely hooked. But I've had, I think, like 6 bites on it. Literally just lost one a cast ago, and started recording again. You may not have seen the cast on that one, but good fish. This lake is like, I don't know, maybe 15 feet lower than the last time that I fished it. There's not a ton of stuff in the water. There's still some rocks in the water, and that's where most of these fish are kind of ambushing off of. So they're sitting in the brush. I'm tucked way back in a cut here, and it's really shallow. In fact, my trolling motor's bottomed out. I just made a cast almost as far as I could back into this cut, and they're in pretty shallow water. Ambushing little bait. I'm seeing some little fish kind of pop on some real small shad up shallow, and I've thrown at those with the wake bait. They won't eat it, but the good fish are smoking the wake bait right now. They're hitting it hard, but they're barely getting hooked. They're eating that back hook, and I lost a couple because of that. But it's gonna happen, especially with a little bit lower light. They're not getting as good a look at the bait. They're just kind of coming up and grabbing the back end. But see if we can get a big one on it. Very next cast, again, back hook. They're just grabbing the back of it. That one got a lot better hook. But with a big bait like this, you're dealing with, 3-pounders like this, they're not going to get the whole bait in their mouth for the most part. A little bit smaller one, but still fun on the big bait. So I'm tucked back into this shallow cut. Like my trolling motor is anchoring me basically. I'm in what, 2 foot of water maybe, throwing into even shallower water. I've put 3 fish in the boat now. Actually, I got bit on 3 consecutive casts on the big wake bait, and pushed myself a little bit further back to where I could reach a little bit skinnier water. These fish are stacked back in this. It's an old creek channel that the water's way down, and it's not leaving them a whole lot of room, but I'm not seeing any bait flicker around, so it doesn't seem like they have a lot of stuff pushed back here, but they're in this skinny water. Decent fish. That one smoked it. That was on the Mega Bass Pop Max. It's one of my favorite poppers in the baby bass pattern. But they're back here. Let's see if we can get a good one out of here. It's fun. Super shallow water. All right, so I've made, I don't know, 20, 30 casts. I've run out of room basically back here. My trolling motor isn't even seated in the mount. I'm so shallow, it's anchoring me here. So it doesn't seem like they want to be in like ultra shallow water where their fins are out of the water. They want a little bit of room over their head. Everything that I've caught, it was like maybe 1.5 feet, something like that. So I kind of run out of room here. I'm gonna turn around and head back down the steep bank that's behind me and keep throwing the swim bait, see if I can get a couple good bites on the swim bait. I'm going to turn around later on, come back in here after the sun gets on it, and they'll probably pull out just a little bit. This creek channel kind of runs into a little bit deeper water behind me here, so we'll probably come back and turn on the electronics. That's one thing I wanted to mention is this whole time this morning, no electronics have been on whatsoever. I'm fishing shallow water. I've wanted to be as quiet as I possibly can. Like I mentioned in the intro, any cast could be an 8-9 pounder or bigger. And I feel like in that shallow water, you need to take advantage of being as quiet as you possibly can with these big fish. These are pressured lakes. You want to sneak up on them. You want to hunt them. You want to be as sly as you possibly can. Sneak in there, get a bait in front of them. You don't want them knowing you're there. So no electronics have been on this whole time. After this topwater stuff kind of cools off, I'll turn everything on, kind of get a little bit better feel for what's going on throughout the water column. All I can tell right now is the fish are shallow, they want to eat, and they will eat big baits. So let's see if we can get another couple wake bait fish. All right, so backed out a little bit out of that real shallow stuff. It's still pretty shallow water back in here, but I noticed as soon as I started coming out, these fish are actively chasing bait around. Big schools of threadfin, and they're like 3, maybe even 4-inch threadfin. They're pretty good sized threadfin, and but they would need a topwater. I didn't get bit on the wake bait, so I think it's because that sun's getting a little high. So I put on the 86 failsafe. First bite on it, I expect to get a lot better fish on it, but we'll keep throwing it around in the tops of these sticks. They're just pushing threadfin all around the tops of these sticks. It's probably only 5 foot, but I'm not even going to turn the electronics on quite yet because I'm still in really shallow water. So we'll still keep throwing at these fish visually, and hopefully we can get a good one on the swim bait, on the glide bait. fish blew up in super shallow water. Threw the fail-safe up there and that thing crushed it. Matt did an incredible job designing this thing. I'm really starting to fall in love with this bait. I grabbed a couple from him and it is absolutely a fish catcher. Just kind of twitching it around the tops of this brush like a fluke. The finish on this bait is unreal, unmatched in the industry, really. You did a really, really good job. Decent fish on it. So let me explain kind of how the last couple hours have gone. We got in that little creek channel this morning, caught some fish, caught some good ones, and fish started chasing some bait around, caught a couple fish on the glide, and after a little bit, a couple boats moved in and things got a little bit crowded back there, so I didn't really want to fish around anymore back with those two boats. And so I moved back out to the main lake, went on down to the other end of the lake, and there's a lot more boats on the water than I expected. There's probably 15 boats, 15 kayaks, and right now this lake probably isn't much more than 200 surface acres or something like that. So at this point, it's find what you can find as far as spots go and kind of stick to it. So I found a main lake point here. There's some fish in like the 10-foot zone. There's a lot of fish in the main lake pushing bait around on the surface out in like 30-40 foot, but I don't really want to chase them around. I'm seeing some fish in the 10-foot zone, so maybe we can throw a Carolina rig on some rock and pick some fish off here and maybe move around a little bit, see if some areas clear out back in some shallow stuff and get that going again. The wind's going pretty good and it looks like it's going to stay that way. So we'll see what happens. Okay, I spent, I don't know, 20 minutes and put this thing in spot lock. I spent probably 20 minutes out on that deep stuff, Carolina rigging. Didn't feel right. Didn't feel right at all. I'm mostly a feel fisherman. If I'm doing something, I'll try something for a little bit. And if it doesn't feel right, I'm not going to give it much time. I'm gonna branch off and just do what feels right, what I like doing. I picked up the minnow. I was shaking a minnow for a little bit. I didn't really want to shake a minnow. You guys don't really want to watch me shake a minnow. There's a million guys doing that. So there's some wind on this bank, and I just said, you know what? I'm gonna do what I want to do, what I enjoy doing. I picked up my buzzbait that I make, started throwing it down the bank. And that's what I mean about any cast can be a big one at this lake. That's exactly what I mean. Good fish on the buzzbait in the afternoon, doing what I want to do. right back to where we were earlier this morning, back in that channel. A little bit of wind on this stuff now, super high sun. Second fish on the buzzbait. That fish actually came up and chased some bait right before she blew up on it. See if we can get another one out of there. They're still here. Little guy back in that channel ate the fluke. All right, guys, I think we're gonna wrap this one up. I'm going on a work trip, leaving tomorrow, so I'm gonna get back to the family and spend some time with the kids and the wife. And I think we got enough video to teach you guys something. We started off throwing the Rago top trout. I don't even know if Jerry makes this bait anymore, but it's basically, I think he modeled it off of the original Rago rat. That's the head, the bill, that's all the same, but it's more of a fish profile. It's got the old finesse, Lunker City finesse fish tail on it. It's about a 7-inch bait, I think, maybe almost 8 inches. And it's a wake bait. You have to crank it really slow to keep that thing up on top. It's a really hard resin. You're able to throw it up into the rocks and bang it around. Most of the fish I caught this morning on it were super shallow, and I was banging it off the rocks. You don't want to bang it around too much, but it can handle it. You can bang it into the rocks up shallow, let it hit the water after that. That way you're not splashing a big bait when they're in 1 foot of water. So I think we caught 3 fish on it, all pretty good ones. And I was throwing it on the Corrado 300 on a Dobbins 795. And to me, as far as like that 7-inch range bait, maybe even up to 8-9 inches if it's a lighter bait for treble hook baits, that 795 has always been a really good rod. And the next bait we caught fish on this morning was the Megabass Pop Max. I wouldn't call it an oversized popper, but it is a large size popper. The thing walks really well, especially with, I got a split ring on there, a small split ring, and it walks super well, throws water back and forth. It's got the holes from the mouth to the gills, which allows a little bit different sound when you're like chugging the thing. It's different. I like it. And you can bomb the thing so far. Just the tail end weighting, you can chuck it a mile. And I'm throwing this on the 7.2 X-Bride cranking rod, and it's a 172 MHG, medium heavy. It's a moderate, and I really like this bait for cranking, also light chatterbaits, but it's an awesome topwater rod as well. It's got a really good tip for it, backbone to move fish away from cover. On the SLX DC HG XG, the 8.2 to 1. And we caught, what, 3 fish, I think, on this bait. One of them was a really good one. They absolutely smashed it. Then we move on to the last couple fish I caught were on the fluke, Zoom fluke, super fluke. And it was really, they're back in this cut where we caught them this morning, super shallow water, 6 inches to maybe a foot of water. And they're splashing around, chasing bait here and there. I caught 1 fish back there on the buzzbait, and they just didn't really seem to want to commit all that hard to the buzzbait. So I tossed the fluke around there, twitched it around, and caught a couple fish doing that. And I could probably stick around for the next couple hours and pitch all this brush through here with the fluke and catch a lot more fish. It's just not something that I see sticking a big one. And it's a really good way to get limit fish, and sometimes you can catch some big ones on it. One just blew up back here in a bush. But if I'm gonna be here another couple hours fishing for more bites, I want big bites. And the reason why is because we got a big bite on the buzzbait today. We already got one that was 6.5 on the buzzbait. And this buzzbait is, I make this myself. It's modeled after a Megabass buzzbait that they no longer make. I think I bought the last two on the internet a few years ago, and those two are hanging up in my garage as a model so I can get the wire length and all that right. And it is, to me, it's the best big bite buzzbait that I have ever thrown. I've caught good fish on buzzbaits my entire life, but as far as quality of fish goes, on average, this buzzbait, I don't know, I think I know what it is. I think it's wire size, and I think it's the distance from the blade to the head. I think that has a lot to do with it. But there is something about, and it could be this, it could even be this little willow leaf hanging off the back. There's something about this bait that gets bigger bites than most, and we proved that today. I want to talk about just having the feeling of what you're doing. Just I was out there fishing deeper water, throwing the Carolina rig, saw some fish suspended in 10 foot. I was shaking a minnow, looking around at everybody else. Everyone's doing that same thing. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. It doesn't feel right. I don't really want to be out here when everybody else is out here. There's shallow grass, like we talked about in the intro. There's very, very, very little. And I'm talking like in 6 inches of water. And there's not a whole lot for those fish to get into, but they're there and they're big. And we took advantage of that. I talked about last night in the intro that we were gonna take advantage of that. We were gonna fish the grass if we found some, and it paid off. We got a big one out of it. And like I said, I wanna talk about a little bit about if something doesn't feel right, bail on it. Move on to something that does feel like, hey, I could get a big bite doing this, or I could fill a limit doing this. And if you have to come back to something that you saw, like I was seeing a ton of fish out there. This fish all in that 10-foot zone, and I was shaking a minnow through them and throwing the Carolina rig in that 10-foot zone where there were fish, and they just weren't reacting to the bait the way that I felt they should be. And that's why I moved on. I wasn't getting the reaction that I thought I should get, so I said, you know what? I feel like there's fish shallow still. No one's doing it, so I'm gonna move on and do that. And it paid off. The trailer that I'm throwing on this is a skinny dipper. It's a trailer that I throw a lot on the buzzbait. I throw other ones as well, but when they're eating bait fish, the skinny dipper is pretty much the one that I throw on the back. The weight's good. It's got some salt in it. You can bomb the thing way, way out there. I've spoken before on this rod, Orochi XX, Extreme Mission Type F. The thing, it's so versatile, it's crazy. I've talked about throwing a 10XD on this in a last minute situation where my 10XD rod had a bad guide and I didn't want to throw it. You can do so many different things, and we threw the buzzbait on it today and got a big one. That's on the Corrado DC200 XG. We threw, I believe this is 17 pound in VizX. So it's probably 1 o'clock now. We didn't go through a ton of fish. The ones we got were fairly good. The swimbait fish or the wakebait fish were pretty good. Obviously the buzzbait fish was the star of the show, except for those guys back there. If you can see them, those are the star of the show. As long as I have fished this lake, we have had these wild horses here forever. And it's really cool to come out here. We had cows this morning walking around mooing all over the place, but these guys are really cool to come out and watch, and they'll run around and play with each other, and pretty cool to have them in the video in the background. Honestly, it's a cool lake to fish. It's fun, and I hope you guys learned something. Deep summer fishing, top water. We had a good time, caught some good ones. I'll see you guys next time.